Saron enters in as a new Mythic Plus dungeon. In this Mythic dungeon guide, we're going to go over the 3 bosses, as well as any trash packs that are notable to be able to get you all the info you need to clear this dungeon. Starting out, you need to understand that you have to clear out 5 of the quarry camps, liberating out the miners that are there. You need to get this done before you've killed the second boss. You can't free any of the prisoners while in combat, so make sure to plan your pulls around getting to a prisoner and clearing everything out at the location before freeing the camp. You're going to want to know your path and route throughout the dungeon, and recommend using a tool like Keystone Guru to find the best calculated route for your given week. There's lots of patrols throughout the dungeon, so be ready to avoid them as they're coming in, or make sure to plan your pulls out accordingly to grab them as they're coming up. Dreadpulse Liches you're going to want to take out before they manage to finish their Torrent of Misery cast. If you don't, this is going to give big damage boost to all targets in the area. In general, just make sure to interrupt all the ice blasts or shadow bolts that you can. Lumbering plague horrors are going to spew out areas of disease onto the ground, and you're going to have to keep kiting them around to make sure nobody takes unnecessary damage. This can lead you into extra mobs, so be extra aware of your surroundings and those padding mobs. The dragon briding Ymirs are going to have a dragon's breath that all players need to sidestep out of as it turns towards a random player, and the giant on top is going to do a cleave effect that's going to be focused in on the tank. Make sure you're not standing in any of the directions that these might hit you. Forgemaster Garfrost is the first boss you're going to want to fight, and you're going to want to use Lust for this one. He does constant damage over time to your party that your healer is going to need to manage. He'll mark random players with yellow circles, and then throw a big Saronite chunk at their location. You need to move away from the group, wait for the circle to become solidified, and then quickly get out of it. Try and separate the 2 ores a decent distance apart. The tank is going to be marked with a brown circle and needs to bring it to one of the 2 Saronite chunks. The boss will then slam down, destroying the chunk and doing big damage to the tank. If no Saronite chunk is destroyed in this attack, the tank gets stunned and will remain stunned for a long period of time. Upon destroying the chunk, shrapnel will rain down on the area, and all players need to quickly sidestep out of all the brown circles. Every time one of the Saronite chunks are destroyed, it's going to leave a void pool on the ground that'll deal damage over time to anybody within it. Make sure to plan out where the Saronite chunks are going to go, and slowly spread them out along the room to make sure you're not losing too much space. Upon reaching maximum energy, he'll leap to the forge on the side of the room and begin smithing. Every time he hammers down in this phase, he puts a stacking damage taken increase on all targets that are not broken from line of sight. All players need to break line of sight from him using the remaining Saronite chunk on the field. After finishing smithing, he'll do a cryo stomp that will destroy all remaining Saronite and will do huge frost damage to all targets, amplified by however many stacks he got off on you before you broke out of line of sight. After a couple of stomps, you should be able to take out the Forgemaster. Continue along your route and make your way over to Ick Krick, a 2-target boss fight that's going to require you to do lots of movement. At the start of the fight, you're going to see these 6 purple little void zones. These are going to turn into shades of Krick throughout the fight that will channel into random players, stopping their movement. Players need to be available to be able to burn down each of these different shades regularly throughout the fight, so be prepared for them to spawn. Interrupting these shades will just make them channel into a different target, but that can save a target from death. Ick needs to be tanked. He'll focus in on the main tank, and he's going to do a green circle on them. After a delay, this will slam down and leave a pool on the ground. The tank needs to be constantly moving Ick around and leaving these pools in areas that's not going to lock the team down out of their movement. Ick will also cast Plague Expulsion, which will mark green circles around the field, lobbing poison at those locations. Players are going to need to be unbound by the channeled Kricks to be able to move out of these poison effects or take big chunk damage. Krick will do a regular Death Bolt cast, which is rather long and definitely needs to be interrupted as it does huge amounts of damage to his target. If any of Krick's shades remain for more than 1 minute, they'll erupt, doing massive damage to your group. This effect stacks, and every unkilled Krick will make you take even more damage. Periodically, Krick will teleport on top of Ick and cast Get 'em, which will cause Ick to focus in on a target and begin running towards them. During this phase, he's going to constantly leave pools behind him as he moves, and he's going to be launching globules all over the place, but he does not need to be tanked, and the player that's focused in on needs to get away from him, as his damage is increased by 100%. Krick will regularly change which target he's focused in on, which will give you a short amount of time to react before you need to get away from him. Since you can't leave the confines of the area, you're eventually going to run out of space with all the poison zones created by Ick. You need to take this boss down rather quickly. Now you're going to need to head up the hill towards the third boss. You're going to have your percent filled out appropriately before you begin this grind, as there's no remaining optional mobs for the rest of the section, and you're going to have to pull all remaining mobs to get to the last boss. From our testing, you should be around 80% before you head up the hill. Reaching the cave, you get to a semi-gauntlet-like situation. You need to be constantly avoiding these falling ice chunks while you pull mobs up the path. Ghouls are regularly spawning throughout this, so you need to be able to pull through quickly and take out the priority targets as you move along. You shouldn't really have time to rest. Glacieth is a mini-boss that appears partway through the tunnel. He's going to mark all players with blue circles that requires you to spread out, and then you leave icy paths on the ground behind you. This is going to cause you to slip and slide and take big damage as you stand in it. You have to constantly pull the boss along the path, slowly burning him down and leaving ice trails in your wake. You'll also put up a guard, blocking all damage taken from one side, so all players need to get to the opposite side and burn him down from behind. Entering in the final boss's room, you're going to see all these piles of corpses on the ground around him. This is going to be important to the fight. Scourgelord Tyrannus will begin the boss fight with a bone infusion. This will erupt, dealing damage over time to all players, as well as empowering several of the bone piles around the room. Players are going to be marked with yellow arrows and blue circles. They need to overlap these with some of the bone piles to freeze them. You're especially going to want your circles to overlap with any of the piles that have that green arrow sticking out of them. These are those infused piles that are later going to spawn some powerful mobs. Every unfrozen pile is going to add extra mobs to the fight, so make sure you're overlapping as many piles as you can rather than only freezing one. The boss is going to knock the tank away with a Scourgelord's brand, marking them with massively increased shadow damage taken, and then leaping after them with a big strike. You need to quickly sidestep out of the way, getting out of the effect before you take the second hit. Death's Grasp will cause all sorts of green circles to appear throughout the arena, and players need to quickly sidestep out of them before hands grasp at them from below, dealing damage over time. When the boss reaches full energy, he'll begin casting Army of the Dead. Any unfrozen piles is now going to spawn all of their mobs, and players are going to need to group these up and take them down quickly. Rotlings for regular bone piles, and Scourge Plague Spreaders for those infused bone piles. Plague Spreaders are priority kills. All players need to focus in on these, interrupting their plague bolts and killing them as quickly as possible. Each alive Plague Spreader deals constant AoE damage to the entire group, and it's eventually going to become too much for your healer to handle, all the while dodging ice raining down from above. And with that, you should manage to take down Tyrannus and clear out the Pit of Saron. I hope this guide helped you out. I'm Zesty Fresh as Zazaze Games, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Zazaze.